that's it from new to building democratic institutions in Nigeria and beyond. Moving on. In commemoration of the United Nations International Day of Disaster and Risk Reduction 2024, the FCT Emergency Management Department, formed in partnership with the Christian Blind Mission, CBN, and Sustainable Family Healthcare Foundation, Sfhf, hosted a one-day event at the Continental Center at Sokoro, Abuja on the 9th of October 2024. The event focused on inclusive disaster preparedness with FEM Director General Engineer Mohammed Abdulrahman, who highlighted the disproportionate impact of disasters on persons with disabilities. Let's take a listen. In a bold initiative to mark the United Nations International Day of Disaster and Risk Reduction 2024, the FCT Emergency Management Department, formed in partnership with Christian Blind Mission, CBM, and Sustainable Family Healthcare Foundation, Sfhf, hosted a one-day event at the Continental Center at Sokoro, Abuja on October 20th, 2024. The event aimed to bridge gaps to inclusive disaster response and strengthen community-based disaster preparedness across the FCT. FEM Director General Engineer Mohammed Abdulrahman highlighted the critical need for inclusive disaster management, particularly for persons with disabilities. Disasters affect people differently, and those with disasters often suffer the greatest impact, he noted, stressing the importance of inclusive disaster risk reduction, DRR, to ensure equitable protection for all.
The Disability Inclusive Disaster Risk Reduction project in the Federal Capital is a critical part of leaving no one behind. Principle of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, underscoring the resolve and commitment of all United Nations member states to eradicate poverty, put an end to exclusion and discrimination, as well as reduce inequality globally. You will agree with me that disasters do not affect people equally. Disasters have gravity. It doesn't affect people equally. So we have to notice this. As those with disability often suffer the greatest impact. Therefore, disaster risk reduction, which is critical to reducing the vulnerability of persons and community to extreme events, must be inclusive.
Mr. Suleiman Abdulmumin Uja, Disability Inclusion Advisor with CBN Global Nigeria, emphasized that promoting sustainable and lasting inclusion in disaster preparedness is a shared responsibility. It called on institutions and individuals to proactively ensure accessibility and inclusivity.
We at the CBN Disability Inclusion, we focus on the thematic area. One, we have 4 thematic areas in which we focus on our work on. One is mental health, also inclusive eye healthcare, and also we have community inclusion development. Lastly, we have humanitarian and disaster management, risk management. So this is where we are coming in for this program, and this is what got our attention to this program. Having disability inclusion in this disaster management is everyone's responsibilities. It is our hope that we look into how best disability inclusion can be carried along in every aspect through this disaster risk management, because it affects everyone.
CSP Anaya Austin of the Nigerian Police Force FCT Command remarked on frequent distress calls during disasters and family disputes, reaffirming the police commitment to support FEMs during emergencies.
Because when there's a fire outbreak anywhere, that's a disaster. Instead of them to call fire service first, the phone goes to the police, and the police will now start calling back the lead agency, which is the fire service. If there's any man-made disaster or any disaster of a natural disaster, they will call the police first. police will in turn start calling Fema. So that is why I am saying, it's my opinion, that the police should have been the lead agency. But having said that, please, we want to thank Fema for the good job they have been doing in the FCT, and we will always be with you. We will collaborate with all the agencies of government and institutions to make sure that we fight the disaster and risk management in FCT.
The event also spotlighted the progress of the Disability Inclusive Disaster Risk Reduction Project DIDRR, led by CBN and Sfhf, which will conclude in December 2024, drawing attention to the importance of inclusive disaster preparedness for vulnerable communities.